Man, good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas. Can we say that yet? Can we say that? Yeah, we can say that. Right, quick question for you and the person next to you. What's your favourite Christmas tradition? Off you go. What's your favourite Christmas tradition? Well, I'll sort my notes out. Hope we got some good ones. Anyone pick decorations? Anyone like the decorations? No one likes the food. Anything to do with the food? Got some food. Excellent. Anyone got anything to do with church? No, that's a bit awkward. I do like the decorations. I'm a fan of the decorations. I think there's a lot of, so we've got a few traditions in our family. My parents, they have a decoration called Scary Mary, who makes an appearance every year. She is terrifying. She was picked up by my sister from a charity shop and gets wheeled out every year in order to scare guests. She comes. That's always quite. I quite like the decorations. I like putting them up. Well, I liked them until this year. My wife decided we needed some outside decorations. Some people are fans of outside decoration. I don't mind an outside decoration as long, and this is very important, they are at floor level. My wife bought some outside decorations, and then kind of the box was presented to me, and I was told they had to go near the roof. Now, I do not like heights. I got the ladder out. I put it up against the house. I think I got up 3 steps. Immediately got down and told her there was no chance of going up there. In the end, I told her, look, I will do an extra hours of work firmly on the ground in order to pay a man to put these lights up. The man came round, he put the lights up. My issue now, of course, is I'm happy to pay a man to put the lights up, but I'm too tight to pay a man to take the lights down. I can assure you they are going to remain there until we move out of that house. Because there's no way I'm going up to get them down. Every year, one of my traditions is I try and look at the story of Christmas from a different perspective. It's been a delight this morning to hear all different readings from the story of Advent. And I don't know which is your favourite character. We got a favourite character? Jesus. Yeah, all right, well done. Yeah, not very rare. Anyone else got favourite characters? The wise men over here. Yeah, any others? Mary. The sheep. Excellent. And I'll try and imagine the story from different perspectives, some of which have just been mentioned there. So I did the shepherds a few years ago. Last year I looked at Joseph. I did the Magi a couple of years before that. And so I want to take this story from Luke. We've already heard it this morning, but I want to read it again. So Joseph went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and the line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. She gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in clothes and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for him. One of the good things about Christmas, I don't know if anyone did pick this as their highlight, is, of course, the telly. For the young people here, the telly's the big thing on the wall that your parents watch while you're on your phones. And the thing I've noticed, I mentioned this when I talked about the Magi a couple of years ago, but it is getting worse, that everyone on TV is on a journey. Has anyone else noticed this? You're watching Bake Off. It's week 2 and they've been kicked out. Oh, but they've been on a journey. No, you haven't. You just came to the studio, you went home. You came to celebrity dancing or whatever you did, fell over, everyone voted you out, and that's not a journey. Oh, I've been on a journey. It's a life-changing journey. I like this story, though. I love the story of Advent because they actually are on a journey. This is true. Unlike all the people on TV that we see, Mary and Joseph are legitimately going on a journey. Mary's body is changing. Their relationship is changing. There is a lot of change. And maybe you have come here this morning at the end of a whirlwind 2025. Maybe you think now about the highlights and lowlights of your last year, because I always do that around Christmas time. Think about the stuff that you've been through. Think about the stuff that's happened. For some of you, it's just been a lot of change. It's been a whirlwind, and I've got a little message for us this morning. If that is for you, that you feel that there's been a lot of change in 2025? Because it says this: Joseph went up from the town of Nazareth to the Galilee in Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and the line of David. Last week, Lorraine did a wonderful job looking at the obedience of Mary, highlighting that what a part that had in the story of Advent. I was reading this passage, and for me, it's become a bit of a mantra this year, because I'm going to take you back to January. I don't know if any of you remember that. But in January, we did a whole series called Practicing the Way. We did a whole series called Practicing the Way, and it really impacted me. And this has become a bit of a mantra for my year in 2025. Because what we looked at right at the start of the year was a series of habits that we can build into our lives in order to live more beautifully. A series of things that we can do. And there's a little phrase that they mentioned in Practicing the Way. It's originally by Nisha, and it was adopted by Peterson. And it's a long obedience in the same direction. And for me, this has become something of, a mantra in 2025, because I was reading this passage, and I'm aware that Mary and Joseph have got this incredible responsibility. They've been told that Mary is going to carry this Jesus, this God child, who is going to save the people from their sins. And what do? They just put one foot in front of the other. I was at my kids' piano recital performance thing yesterday. Anyone been to any of those before? You go there and it's all very nervous, because you're like, so he's got to play his piano or whatever. And I thought he was quite good for his age, but then another kid rocks up in a bow tie, and I was like, you've done this before. Yeah, playing all of this. It was fun though. And the thing I've been saying to my son for the last few weeks, every time he's been nervous about it, it's like, well, you just got to practice. You just got to practice. That's all you got to do. Just keep on practicing. Just keep on practicing. Many of you know I'm a teacher. What am I telling to all my students all the time? They've got mocks on the horizon. I'm like, just keep on practicing. Keep on practicing. And I was reading this passage, and I'm like, what I think is amazing, that Mary and Joseph have been given this incredible vision, this incredible future, this kind of promised land, to link to what we've been saying about Exodus. And what is it that they do? They just put one foot in front of the other. They head out to Bethlehem. They engage in a long obedience in the same direction. Small group this week, we were discussing this. We're talking about two types of people. Maybe you relate to one of these. One type of person, right? They've got an idea. They've got a vision. And they're so nervous about it, they don't want to step into it. They've got a vision of where they're heading. Maybe you've got plans and dreams for 2026. You can think about where you might be heading, but you're nervous. Some people, I'm a bit like that. Don't really love the change. Every time we're going on a journey, I've got two questions. Where are we parking and what are we eating? Because I get very stressed about those things. Other people, this is what we were chatting about in our small group, other people are not like that. Some people have half a good idea and have already remortgaged their house. Like, they're so excited. They're like, we could do that. And suddenly they're booking flights. You're like, well, can we just calm down a little bit? And I think there's maybe a beautiful middle ground in this story of Mary and Joseph, that they have this huge dream, they have a big mission, and what they need to do is put one foot in front of the other. And so as I was reading this story, as I was thinking about the long obedience in the same direction, I've decided that my hero for 2025 is not Joseph, because I talked about him last year, even though you've all forgotten him, and I could have reused the same talk, but never mind. Well, I did Joseph last year, and Mary was done. Lorraine spoke about her beautifully last week. I've decided my hero for 2025 is the donkey. I think it's the donkey. If you pick the donkey, my message, if you forget everything else from this morning, here's my call to you: make an ass out of yourself this Christmas. Because my hero for 2025 is the donkey. Why? Because even though this journey was rubbish and long and frustrating, and I'm sure it was pretty pointless at times, no matter how difficult the path or how uninspired they might have been, the donkey put what's one foot in front of the other. The donkey, for me, encapsulates the long obedience in the same direction. The donkey, even though it's difficult, even though it's long, even though it's hard, the donkey carries Jesus. And that's why I love the donkey. That's why I love the donkey. And you know the worst part about this? I was really inspired by this. Long obedience in the same direction as I'm going to talk about the donkey. And do you know the worst bit? No one noticed. Do you know why I know no one noticed? Because you've just heard all of the passages about Christmas. And how many of them featured our hero, the donkey? None. And at this point, because I decided I was talking about the donkey. I was excited about the donkey. And I did it the wrong order because then I looked up the Bible verses for it. And you shouldn't do that. You should start with the Bible, but I didn't. I wanted to talk about the donkey, so I quickly Googled, okay, where in the Bible is it? It's not there. And at that point, I had a choice to make, but I've committed to it now. The donkey's not in the Bible. And I am sorry about that. I feel the donkey should be. But he doesn't get mentioned. No one noticed the donkey. He's in the photos. And he's in the song. And I figured that was enough. He's also in some second century retellings of the story. So I was like, okay, that's fine. We can get away with it. I like the... I'm talking about the donkey because I think it epitomizes this long obedience in the same direction. For some of you, you've got big plans for 2026. And I'm going to encourage you to be like the donkey. Just choose to carry Jesus. Just choose to carry Jesus. Choose to put one foot in front, one paw. What do they have? Hooves? One hoof in front of the other, to keep your eyes fixed on where you're heading and commit to keep going, to keep on going, even when it's difficult to keep on going. In a world where every time someone reaches somewhere, the first thing they do is take a selfie because it's all about them. I love the donkey who carries Jesus even when no one notices. It's like the underdog of the story. We love underdogs, don't we? We love underdogs. I'm told that this was the year of the underdog. If you're into sport, Crystal Palace won something. Anyone excited about that? No? Go Ahead Eagles, with the best name in sports. They won something for the first time in 92 years. West Ham didn't even get relegated. It's the year of the underdog. It's the year of the underdog. And the donkey. And the donkey is this great hero who just keeps on carrying Jesus. It's a difficult road. Mary's pregnant. Don't know if you've met a pregnant person. I can't imagine the prospect of traipsing halfway across the country in order to get her passport rubber stamped by some bloke was particularly attractive to Mary. But even though it is boring and dull and uninspiring and no one notices, the thing that doesn't matter is perfect. The thing that doesn't matter, it's not perfection that matters. It's participation. The donkey carries Jesus. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. She gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no room available for the inn. There's so much in this passage. We've got Mary, Joseph, our hero, the donkey. We should probably give it a name. I don't know, Doris or something. I don't know. But you can picture the scene. And they've arrived. Mary's heavily pregnant, and I imagine because she's heavily pregnant, she's demanding gherkins. Checking that Joseph's got the birth plan. Frantically trying to find it. Did you not book anywhere? Anyway. Frantically trying to find a place to stay. Joseph's stressed because he hasn't got that big bouncy ball thing that all pregnant women want to sit on. Donkey hasn't got Isofix. It's all carnage. And they arrive. They arrive in Bethlehem eventually. And I think in one of the most heartbreaking passages in all of the New Testament, you can picture them heavily pregnant Mary, Joseph, donkey. And there was no room for them at the inn. There was no room for them at the inn. I read a wonderful story about a guy called Dick Griffin. He's this guy behind the Queen, and he works in royal protection. You might have heard this story. It did the rounds when the Queen passed away, and it was a wonderful story. They were hiking, him and the Queen, out in Scotland, and they bumped into a couple of Americans, some American tourists, and they fell into conversation. And they asked the two of them, the Queen and this guy called Dirk. They were like, "Oh, do you come here often?" The Queen's like, "Oh yeah, I've been coming for 80 years." Since I was a little girl. And the American couple, because they knew it was near Balmoral, were like, "Oh, you must have met the Queen then." And she didn't miss a beat, apparently. She was like, "Oh, I haven't, but he's met her a lot of times." It's just fantastic. And so then the American tourists were like, "Oh, that's incredible. Like, what's she like?" And he's like, "She can be a bit curmudgeonly sometimes, but she's got a great sense of humor." The best bit is these American tourists then asked the Queen to take a picture of them with Dirk. Because they've met someone who met the Queen. I love it. The Queen was right there and they missed her. The Queen was right there and they missed her because they didn't recognize the royalty in the rags. Now, I'm obviously pushing this point. I'm sure the Queen wasn't wearing rags. She probably had the expensive gilet thing on. But my point is this. They didn't how often the innkeepers didn't see it. They didn't see it. They didn't host the King of Kings because they couldn't recognize the royalty in the rags. They couldn't see the divine hidden in the dirt. They couldn't see God because God didn't look like they were expecting. And they said, we haven't got room. I find God easy to see in a beautiful sunrise. I find God easy to see in nature. I find God easy to experience in the beautiful music that we've experienced this morning or last night. I find it easy to find. But when God turns up in our lives, it is an unmarried pregnant girl. Do I see God in that? How often do I say there's no room here? They missed it. Too full. It's too full. Maybe I'm too full. Maybe I'm too comfortable. Maybe my diary's too full. Maybe my attention is too full. Maybe I cannot notice God when he turns up in a form I'm not expecting, and I say, sorry, there's no room. There's no room. Innkeepers, there's no room. I mean, of course it was busy. It was Christmas, but there's no room. That was a royal family joke, by the way, that no one got, but that's okay. Can we make space? Can we choose to make space? Of course, it's not how the innkeeper expected it, but can we make space when God turns up? When the divine's in the dirt, when the royalty is in rags? Can we make space? Because the innkeepers miss it. But do you know who doesn't miss it? Do you know who doesn't miss it? Do you know who does welcome the newborn king into their house? The donkey. The donkey. There's no space in the inn, but the donkey's like, I've got a stable. Maybe it was the donkey's cousin. We don't know the details. But what I'm saying is we're going to make an ass out of ourselves this Christmas with a long obedience in the same direction to put one foot in front of the other. And we are going to make space for Jesus, even when other people won't make space for him. I know I'm pushing the point here, but I am doing a whole talk on a character who isn't even in the gospel, so I'm not going to stop now. There is space in the donkey's stable. In this underrated hero of the gospel story, and it wasn't flashy, and it wasn't tidy or well furnished, but the donkey welcomes Jesus into her home. The donkey makes space. So can you carry Jesus when the journey is tough? Can you carry Jesus on the journeys you maybe don't want to go on? Can you find space in your home when God turns up in disguise? Can you make an ass out of yourself this Christmas? I don't know what happened to the donkey after this. I like to think that the donkey entered into retirement in the outskirts of a big city somewhere and settled down and told anyone who'd listen about the time that they carried Mary and Joseph and Jesus and hosted them in their stable. Maybe the donkey had a baby. I looked at the lifespan of donkeys. And maybe 30 years later, and I really am pushing it, maybe 30 years later, this donkey had a baby, a colt. Maybe 30 years later, some men came looking for a colt who hadn't been ridden and put a king on it so people could gather around and shout, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." I want to carry Jesus when no one watches so that others can carry him in glory. I want to carry Jesus in the quiet so that others can see him in his majesty. I want to carry Jesus now so he can carry me later. I want to make space for God in disguise now so he will make space for me when he is revealed later. I'm choosing a long obedience in the same direction with one foot in front of the other, even when it is tough, when it is difficult, and no one else notices. I want to make an ass out of myself now. I will choose to carry Jesus now. When he is hidden, when he's difficult to see, when he's not what you expect. Why? Because I know one day he will be carried in as king, and everyone will see him for the king that he is. Let's choose to carry Jesus this Christmas. Amen. Amen. If the band want to come up. We're going to sing our final carol this morning. Let's pray, shall we?